Yeah, basically that, sometimes we get busy, to be honest, and it's not that we intend to be distant or absent, but sometimes life happens. And while life happens in other people's lives and they go downwards or whatever's going on in their world and we're going in a different direction, sometimes we are absent. And while we want to be there, life doesn't give us the opportunity. And just like Sharita said, sometimes you just can't. Like, you can't be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So,
right. I agree with you on that, both of you guys. And like, I deal with some things too, because my daughter, you know what I mean? She's 16 and she definitely plays the role of, I'm depressed today. And then the minute I spend some money on her, then she's okay. Or, she's happy because she got a new iPhone. Now she's using an iPhone. Now all of a sudden she don't know what's wrong with her. She's failing in school and she thinks it's depression. So for me, I'm kind of like in a position where it's like, I don't know what's what, but I still give her the attention that she needs. But at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's that or manipulation at this point. You know what I mean? Because one minute I will say she will be, I guess, depressed in a sense, right? But then the next thing is kind of like, well, I wanted these new shoes I saw and this, that, and the third. And it's like, okay, well, why is that depressing?
The parents on the outside look.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's difficult in that sense. Cause I don't know. And she went down the whole road of, I'm going to kill myself. She did. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to lie to you, Sharita. I'm going to be honest. I'm about to be 100% transparent. Everybody know when I get transparent, it'll be some crazy-ish shit come out of my mouth. But my mom told her one day, and this was about 2 years ago, she took iron pills. And I guess she said she was going to kill herself. And so, mind you, I done got her into therapy. She's going to counseling. I'm trying to be more involved. I even connected her with the school psychologist and all this other stuff. And so one day she told me, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take all these pills. And I was talking to my mom. And my mom told her, she said, well, you know what? Since you keep hollering what you're going to do, go ahead and do it. Because at least your mom and I know where to find you every year on your birthday. You know what I mean? You can't keep threatening people with this I'm going to kill myself thing, trying to get the attention when your mom is giving you the attention. We are giving you attention. It's just you think that we're supposed to give you everything and anything that you want when you ask for it, or we're supposed to be here to cater to every single need and you do nothing about it to help yourself. You get what I'm saying? My mom told her that. And guess what? I ain't heard her say that no more. I promise you. She ain't mentioned that to me. I mean, we've had conversations where she'll be like, yeah. I'm sorry?
I was just saying, yeah, I just kind of listening.
Oh, yeah. So we done been down that road. Like we done had conversations recently. Well, she'll be like, well, Mom, I just feel depressed. Like I've had a suicidal thought today. And I'm like, why? Now I really want to know why. Like, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? To make sure I bring you back out of that. But at the same time, for me, I'm at the point where I don't know if it's really depression and this is what you're going to do, or if it's really just manipulation because of something isn't going right in your life at the moment. You get what I'm saying? So I think I struggle with separating the two.
Yeah, I love, first of all, I commend you on the fact that you did get her help and you put all the resources in place to support her therapeutically when she was going through that time. Suicide, whether it's a gesture, whether you think it's attention seeking and or if it's a real threat, should never be taken lightly. And more than likely, a lot of times children and teens, they don't know how to express strong emotions. So they will say things like, I want to kill myself instead of saying I'm depressed, or because they don't understand what that means, right? And so they don't learn that until they get into some type of therapy. And then they learn how to deal with those strong emotions, And so a lot of times they will weaponize even some of their symptoms. I've had kids tell me, like, I'm not going to get what I want, so I'm going to run out in front of a car, And so what I would advise to any parent, never encourage them to do it, because we could never tell, we can never take those statements too lightly ever. But I know that some parents feel like, okay, they're just doing this and they're saying it to seek attention and I need to give them tough love. But I think what happens is we have to learn to educate them and say, you know what? you're not suicidal. You're just feeling overwhelmed right now and you don't know how to express it. And you need to talk to your therapist about that. And I'm going to put you in touch with a therapist so you can learn how to deal with your feelings and cope. Because a lot of kids will weaponize, their emotions because they just don't understand it. And it can be frustrating to parents and it can be overwhelming. There are some kids that utilize things like statements like that to manipulate to get what they want. There are some kids that utilize statements like that for attention seeking. But nevertheless, anytime they say it, it never is to be taken lightly. What happens is you give attention to the statement and then go get them the mental health they need. And then if they're doing it to manipulate, then trust me, they're going to learn not to once they get into therapy, because the therapist is going to teach them how to cope and how to deal with their feelings appropriately and how not to weaponize their emotions, because it's unhealthy. It is manipulative when they do that. And ultimately they can put themselves in a situation where they can accidentally actually kill themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Because they may be doing something to get attention. Like when people do self-injurious behaviors with cutting, one of the things that I tell them is that you got to be very careful with that, because that's not like the lesser of the two evils, because there have been people who actually have been doing just doing self-injury, or I'm just cutting, but they've cut too deep and then they end up killing themselves, right? And so all these type of behaviors that hurt, that are internally coming out and manifesting physically, whether it's verbal threats or suicidal threats and or self-injurious behaviors, all these things are harmful. And so the bigger picture is that we have to make sure we get the kids in a space where they can learn how to cope with these strong emotions and learn proper, appropriate manner to deal with those emotions outside of hurting themselves or threatening or gesturing to hurt themselves. So like I said, I commend you for making sure she had that space, that safe space. And anytime that comes up in the future, just continue to get her an appointment. Like, don't even get into a back and forth struggle with her. Mm-hmm. Just make the appointment and let her go talk to the professionals who, are trained to deal with that, because it's not to be taken lightly. And they have to be in a space where they can get that support and learn that that's not okay. It's not okay to gesture, weaponize, and or utilize these type of statements. And if they don't know any better, they're going to do it. But once they learn better, then they can implement healthier ways to cope with those strong feelings.
Right. So, I think with her, go ahead. That. No, I'm sorry, Jane. Go ahead.
I like what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, Sharita.
I'm going to say this. After my mom told her that, though, I didn't hear from her. Not in essence. She was like, you know what? Because it's kind of like it's one of those things. But even after I realized, once I did get her help, and, because she done went to several different therapists. I think sometimes, like when I'm having my one-on-one with her therapist and they're like talking to me, they don't tell me everything because, the confidentiality thing, but they tell me enough to say things to me. Like I was told, well, I think sometimes, the baby doesn't come in here and she's not honest. You get what I'm saying? It's almost like they know she's manipulating them as well. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, Ebony, you're in a position too where you got to really pay attention, because we don't know. We're trying to teach her, but it's kind of like she doesn't tell the whole story to us either. You know what I mean? Or she's not being really open with us either. So it may be an attention thing. It may not be a thing. So again, it puts me on hot ice, because I'm like, okay, I guess I just got to still pay for therapy sessions, because I don't want her to feel that we don't care. You know what I mean? Because we do care. So that's just where I'm at. Yeah. Like I said, we just do more talking now. She'll call me, oh, Mom, I don't feel good today. And, it's just conversation at this point, because you've gotten everything you wanted, including not going to school. Like you always wanted to go to school virtually, because if you felt like the kids were annoying or they were, you didn't fit in school, so you wanted to go virtually. Now you're going virtually. And guess what? Now we have another problem, because you don't even want to do that, because it's depressing.
Would you say, Sharita, like, I hear a lot of what you're saying, Nikki J, and from what documentaries I've watched, just some research that I've done, I think that social media plays a huge role in a lot of what these kids are experiencing, especially because you go from the living room, from talking to mom and you're happy, and you go in your room, you come back 10 minutes later and your whole attitude is changing. We're like, what the heck?
And that's a thing, right, Sharita? Isn't that a thing?
Say that there's some kind of correlation between what they're getting with so much social activity on the web and their personal feelings and trying to fit in.
And that's a thing, right? Isn't that
what
is it called? Internet syndrome or something like that? It's a name for that, right?
Well, yeah. So what happens is it's just overexposure to social media. I think with everything, everything is in moderation. And so even with our kids, I think what happens is they have more accessibility. Even with bullying, when we were growing up, you might get a bully that might bully the kid at school, and then the fight is back on when you go back to school. But these days with social media and the accessibility, you can have a person getting cyber bullied. So they can leave school getting bullied in person, then come back home, and then they're getting bullied by the entire school, online, and so it's the accessibility. So again, with parents, just setting those boundaries, putting curfews and limits on what they're exposed to. I mean, it may seem like old fashioned. They may not like you for it, but, you have to protect your kids, and you're right. A lot of times with even just their body image and concept of development, socially, they see a lot, they're exposed to a lot online, like, fake pictures of people counting money and driving, it's like this whole reality TV lifestyle. They can't differentiate that that's not real life. And so they think that, it plays on their self-esteem. They think, oh, if I'm not driving at a Mercedes-Benz at 16, then I must be poor. I must be nothing, right? And so you have to, again, let your kids know what's real and what's fake, and let them know that their self-worth is so much more than what, materialistic things, and go from there. Help build up their strengths. Those are the ways you can help your kids, not have poor mental health, basically by comparing themselves with the lives of, reality TV stars or social media people,
True.
Right.
That's true. And what's so sad is that it's getting younger and younger and younger. I see kids younger than the age limits on even social media partaking. And I don't think that they're at the mental capacity to even understand the manipulation tactics that are built into these platforms already.
Mm-hmm.
To know that at my age, that I've been played, can you imagine the kids whose mothers and fathers allow them to be on these platforms much younger, thriving off the likes, thriving off the comments and the accolades that you get and the notoriety you get from feeling liked by the world. And just how catastrophic it is if you go viral over something negative.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that there should be better regulation. There should be better control over children just being on there in general. That's not okay.
It's funny you say better regulations and control, because recently I wrote a paper about that, about social media and the effects, or the media and the social platforms that has on children. And one of the questions was, how do we regulate and control what our children is exposed to? Do you think that the companies or the media is responsible for that? Or is that a parent's choice? And the realistic answer is the media, they don't care. It's all about the dollar sign. So they don't care what they put out there. It is the parents' responsibility to kind of regulate and see what's going on. But the problem with that is we can't be everywhere at once, right? Because some of us have 20 jobs just to make sure that the kids got a place to stay. And I can't be at home watching you. Then the oldest is watching the kids because y'all done made it to where dad can't be in the house. So again, all this plays a huge role in the mental development of the child. You get what I'm saying? So it's not that I can't monitor, I won't monitor, but I can't be everywhere at one time. And then some parents, and this is going to probably strike a nerve, but guess what? Some parents, they depend on it. Get your phone and go over there. Or let me buy you an iPad, or I'm asleep, or I'm not feeling good. Take this iPhone and go do this and go do that. And it's kind of like, now you mad because your daughter wants to wear, 3 inches of 3-inch eyelashes, and she want to put all this makeup on. But when you sleeping and not being interactive and checking on her or him or whatever, you're creating this problem. You get what I'm saying? Or when they want to have a snatched waist at 16, that's not nobody's problem, but take some accountability for that. You get what I'm saying? So I personally think it's a parent's responsibility, or at least the adults around, because I'm old school. look, Jane, if you see, Jazzy, if you see one of the kids doing something they ain't supposed to do, I would expect that you be like, hey, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that. Why aren't you on that site? You know what I mean? So like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. So yeah, a lot of that goes into it's up to us, but we can't be everywhere at one time. And guess what? That's the world that we live in, and that's the world that they develop.